Hey everybody, recently I did a video with James Bell from Nutrition Triathlon, and he explained the difference between the different types of sugar and the ratios, the proper ratios of glucose and fructose you should have to optimize the different transport pathways in your digestive system to be able to take on the most amount of carbs at one time. And one of the products he recommended was SIS Beta, Beta Fuel. This one has one of the best ratios of sugars. So that was great, we did the video. And then I heard from Kyle Arnold, a friend of mine and triathlete here in Singapore, who thought about doing the same thing himself. But this time, actually making his own nutrition from scratch at probably a lot less of a cost and probably, being able to optimize it for his own need. Hey Kyle, how's it going?
Good.
Okay, so what did you end up making that was similar to SIS Beta Fuel?
Yeah, well, I was just looking at the ingredient list of all these basic ones like the Tailwind or Beta Fuel, and realized that pretty much the basic ingredients are only just your glucose coming from Maltodextrin, your sugars coming from fructose, and then plus some electrolytes. So those three basic ingredients, you can actually just go online, like Shopee or anywhere, and just find them quite cheap for like 1 kilogram bulk prices. So that's what I went out and got. So for example, here you see a bag of sodium citrate or fructose. Or in a similar bag as this, I got some maltodextrin powder. And then when you work out the price, actually, to make exactly the same mixture as for example, the Beta Fuel, it costs about $1 total per bottle compared to about $5 when you buy it in Singapore for the Beta Fuel. And The taste is all pretty much the same, just a slightly sweetened drink with, except for the slight flavoring. I actually ordered some fruit powders, which I wanted to try to add a little bit of flavor later, but they haven't arrived yet, so I'll have to find out how that goes later.
Okay, so how much sodium do you have in the Beta Fuel? I know this is mainly about sugars, but how much sodium is in there?
This one says 570 milligrams. So that's not particularly high in terms of some people's endurance fuel. But of course, when you're making your own, if you know your sweat rate and your sodium, have had your sweat tested, then you could actually calibrate this to increase the sodium content if you wanted to. So for example, to match this, it's only half a teaspoon of that, which is actually very little and doesn't really mess up the flavor at all. So you could easily add twice as much as that or even more if you really felt you needed it. But I tend to just go with about around there.
Yep, and I just tasted the sodium citrate right here. It doesn't taste like salt. It's not salt, it's sodium citrate. So what's salt? NaCl, sodium chloride, right? It doesn't taste salty, but there is a slight flavor to it.
Yeah.
But it's very mild. So it's encouraging for heavy sweaters like me to know that we could potentially, this is a massive amount here. We could potentially solve our sodium problems. How much sodium is in let's say one of the most potent products out there, Precision Hydration 1500? That's 750 milligrams per dosage, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying that you can get 750 milligrams from how much?
If I estimate it right, it'd be about 1 teaspoon of this one. Because I think that's 1 teaspoon is about 4.1 grams of sodium citrate, and I can't recall exactly, but I think it was 23% was the sodium content by weight. Yeah.
So it's a bit less potent than salt, but it doesn't have that flavor.
That's right.
And then tell me about this fructose. What is this?
Yeah, that's just basically your sugars. It pretty much tastes like sugar, so if you taste that, you won't taste that much difference.
So it's essentially the fruit, it's the type of sugar.
The sugar that's in your fruit.
It's in fruit. And what is this?
That's the maltodextrin. So this is basically your cornstarch kind. I think it comes from corn, but it's basically just starch.
So that's glucose.
Your body processes it as glucose.
And so
it's very little taste.
Your body processes it as glucose, and that comes typically from starches like vegetables, corn, starchy vegetables. And with the right ratio, what's the result?
I find it works pretty well if you mix it in that ratio. Sometimes I go without the fructose I was trying, just if I'm on a shorter ride, just because I don't really like the sweet taste in the drink. Based on your previous video there, you showed that if you want to really get maximum absorption, that you would want to use both. I've never really tried taking more, like they say you can take maybe 80 to 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. I've never really tried taking more than that, and I don't have a problem really taking that much.
Right, so that's the whole pretense behind this. The whole idea here we're getting at is trying to figure out a way to maximize your carb or your sugar or your calorie intake per hour. If we want to go as high as possible, then we need to maximize those pathways of fructose and glucose. And the reason we want to go high as possible is if you're doing a full Ironman or even a half Ironman, you need that because you're going to be burning far more than you're going to be able to consume. So obviously, if you're just doing a 10K or a half marathon, this kind of this extent isn't necessary. You're probably fine just to go with any old fuel out there. We're gonna put the link in the description below to a recipe. Hey, if you're getting any value out of this, please subscribe, because this is like free value here. This is like gonna save all of us a bit of money. Should we make a bottle?
Oh yeah, sure, can if you want to try one out.
Show me how it's done.
So it's 2 scoops of the maltodextrin.
Okay, 2 scoops of maltodextrin.
And then we can make 1 scoop of fructose. So each scoop here is about 25 grams of carbohydrate.
Could I taste a tiny bit of that? But it's basically just sugar. When I taste that, it's sugar. It's like large grain sugar.
Yeah.
And then
we'll just make this one a little bit stronger. So that'll be 1 teaspoon.
So
that's probably closer to 1,000 milligrams of sodium.
So it's basically going to be a somewhat sweet solution.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
Not have that much taste.
It tastes just like sugar water.
Yeah, you might. Of course, you could easily add a little bit something flavor if you wanted to.
That's actually really nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's that. Yeah.
All right, everybody. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.